Femke Bol, two-time world champion, four-time Olympic medalist. She'd never raced the 800 meters professionally, but on February 8th, she stepped onto the track anyway. She won. But here's what shocked the sport. Before February 8th, 2026, Femke Bol was already one of the most decorated sprinters in track and field history. The Dutch athlete is a two-time world champion in the 400-meter hurdles, winning consecutive titles in 2023 and 2025. She holds the European record at 50.95 seconds, making her the second fastest woman of all time in the hurdles. She holds the world indoor record in the 400 meters flat at 49.17 seconds, one of the fastest times ever recorded by any female sprinter. She is a four-time Olympic medalist, including Olympic gold in the mixed 4x400 meter relay at Paris 2024. In 2025, Bol dominated the outdoor season with a dominance rarely seen in elite athletics. She won 6 consecutive Diamond League 400-meter hurdles races without defeat. She remained unbeaten in 11 of 12 races across both hurdles and flat 400 meters. She finished the year as an overwhelming favorite for European Athlete of the Year for the third time in her career. Her technical excellence, her speed, her competitive intensity, everything about her performance demonstrated that she had reached the absolute peak of her powers at these distances. By any measure, Bol had already accomplished a legendary career. She had won world titles, Olympic medals, set world records, and dominated international competition consistently. Most athletes would consider this career completion. But Femke Bol was not most athletes. She possessed something rarer, the willingness to challenge herself at a completely new distance when already at the pinnacle of success. In October 2025, Bol announced her intention to transition to the 800 meters. The decision generated massive debate across the sport. Athletes at her level, world champions, Olympic medalists, world record holders, do not simply abandon their specialties for unproven distances. When such transitions occur, they often end in disappointment. But Bol was serious about this attempt. She had never raced beyond 500 meters as a professional athlete. Her personal best in the 800 meters dated to her junior days in 2017, a time of 2 minutes, 19.51 seconds. That was 9 years earlier, set by a younger athlete competing at a completely different level. Critics questioned whether the transition made sense. They pointed out that 800-meter racing requires completely different training methodologies and energy systems than sprinting and hurdling. They noted that elite distance runners spend years developing the specific endurance necessary for this event. They questioned whether Bol's sprinting background could translate to sustained middle-distance running. But supporters saw a different narrative. They saw an athlete at the peak of her abilities deciding to challenge herself in a completely unprecedented way. They saw someone who had mastered sprinting and hurdling now willing to test whether her elite speed could combine with developing endurance to produce success at a new distance. They recognized that Bol was attempting what only the greatest athletes ever do, reinventing themselves while still dominant. From November through January, Bol undertook one of the most intensive training blocks of her career. She traveled to Potchefstroom, South Africa, for an altitude training camp designed to develop her 800-meter fitness. At altitude, reduced oxygen forces the body to adapt and become more efficient at distance running. For 3 months, Bol trained at these elevated conditions, building the aerobic base necessary to compete while maintaining her elite sprinting speed. Her coach, Laurent Mully, designed a comprehensive program to bridge the gap between sprint abilities and 800-meter demands. This training represented a complete departure from her previous preparation. Hurdles training focuses on explosive power and short bursts of speed. Distance training requires sustained effort, sophisticated pacing strategy, and the ability to manage pain over extended periods. Bol had to retrain her body, reprogram her nervous system, and develop tactical skills entirely new to her. On Sunday, February 8th, the meeting Metz Moselle Athlélor Credit Mutuel in Metz, France, hosted one of the most anticipated debuts of the indoor season. The track and field world held its breath. Bol stepped onto the indoor track at l'Anneau Hall d'Athlétisme de Metz. The pressure was immense. Expectations were sky high. Nobody knew what would happen. Running behind Polish pacemaker Anna Grick, Bol executed her race plan with precision and composure. She followed through the opening 400 meters in 56.66 seconds, a deliberately aggressive pace designed to test her fitness, She ran smoothly through the first lap, looking relaxed and composed despite the intensity. Bol maintained her rhythm and positioning, staying directly behind the pacemaker and controlling her effort. Over the final lap, Swiss runners Valentina Rosamilia and Lore Hoffmann pressed hard, closing dangerously as Bol began to feel the accumulated fatigue of nearly 2 minutes of sustained effort. She dug deep, accelerated, and held her form down the final straightaway. She crossed the finish line in 1 minute, 59.07 seconds. She had won the race decisively. She had shattered the Dutch national indoor record. She had become the first Dutch woman to break 2 minutes indoors. Both Swiss runners had run personal bests and dipped under 2 minutes, but Bol had won. Bol's time of 1 minute, 59.07 seconds immediately ranked her 5th on the 2026 World Indoor list. For a professional debut at a distance she had never raced at the elite level, the achievement was genuinely extraordinary. The performance met the qualifying standard for the World Indoor Championships and proved conclusively that her elite speed could translate to the 800 meters. However, the time must be contextualized within the broader 800-meter landscape. Olympic champion Keely Hodgkinson's world indoor record stands at 1 minute, 54.87 seconds. Other world-class 800-meter specialists possess superior distance experience and faster times. These athletes have trained at this distance for years. Bol had trained for just 3 months. But the significance of her debut extended beyond the time itself. She had announced that the transition was working. She had proven that her fundamental speed could combine with developing endurance to produce elite-level performance. After crossing the finish line, Bol collapsed to the track, the physical toll evident, but she recovered and engaged with the crowd. She celebrated the moment with characteristic flair and personality. Hodgkinson is the true 800-meter queen at the moment. Her time is nearly 5 seconds faster than Bol's debut, but the narrative is genuinely compelling nonetheless. Bol had been scheduled to compete at Lieven on February 19th in the unconventional 600-meter distance, a race that would have provided another test of her developing ability at longer distances. On February 8th at the meeting Metz Moselle in Metz, France, Femke Bol made her professional 800-meter debut and established herself as a genuine contender in the event. She ran 1 minute 59.07 seconds, becoming the first Dutch woman to break 2 minutes indoors. She won decisively, defeating Swiss competitors Valentina Rosamilia and Lore Hoffmann. It proved that Femke Bol is a versatile athlete capable of competing at multiple distances. Her 800-meter debut represents one of the most compelling athlete stories of the 2026 indoor season. A world champion sprinter attempted something unprecedented and succeeded, proving that the greatest athletes are those willing to challenge themselves in new and uncertain ways. That is why the sport was stunned. That is why this moment matters.